What's up, everybody? Let me know if you can hear me okay. Still got this back porch rig, so getting to adjust the settings tonight a little bit better. Got an interesting phenomenon. Everything is looking kind of fuzzy tonight. I thought it was the focus, but it is the focus, but I thought it was the scope. But in fact, I feel it's just because like we got Jupiter, Saturn, and the moon kind of aligned tonight. And plus there's a lot of weather activity moving through, so that soft kind of focus is just due to the weather right now. Let's see if it clears up. Otherwise it's kind of due maybe to the magnetical connection. But man, what a long day. Hope y'all are doing okay. Good, loud and clear. Excellent. Is it too loud? I'm trying to keep like one of the headphone mics off so I stop getting that latency, but it hasn't really helped. What's up? Much love. Dagger Spells, how you doing? What's up, Vision? What's up? Saw your comment. Are we not in space? What's up, Light Moon and Astro Live, Astrophotography channel. Awesome. Jupiter has a nice configuration of moons tonight. Saturn is still a little bit left for me behind the screen door. But moon coming right, almost due south. Yeah, that's certainly the case. Definitely different. Last night was actually feeling pretty sharp. I was kind of hoping it would be that way tonight, but big fluffy clouds moving through. I bet the atmosphere is pretty wet. It's gonna have trouble focusing, at least for now. I hope it'll get better. So what do we got? We got a very cool alignment of planets and the moon. Got moon at 97? Yeah, 97% illuminated. A couple of days away from full. Pretty low on the horizon as well. And Saturn pulling up, I don't know, like 10 degrees to the left. I was all prepped to talk about complicated things, and I got on, I was like, let me just enjoy it. Let me know if y'all have any questions, if you're new, as you show up. P&K is going, yeah, I figured. We still ride, independent citizen scientists, figuring things out. I watched a really interesting documentary today. Actually, not documentary, it was a French film about the Masons. Very interesting. It was a referral from the Greg J channel. That's all I'm going to say. It actually felt pretty uncomfortable watching it, even though I knew a lot of the content. It just like felt like you shouldn't even be watching that stuff. And then further, it kind of felt very religious. And I think those kind of like religious cults are really kind of the core of human strife emanates from them. You know, but also maybe a lot of good things. So it's tough to really gauge. You can kind of see the point on both sides if you really, you know, people try and gang up on one another. So you could argue that it's natural, but very strange movie. What's up, Tim Martin? How you doing? Astrolive says, I heard Neptune is going to be in this night sky. Let me see. I don't know if the seeing is good enough for that, but I'm always on the lookout for Neptune, so... Checking Stellarium. I had the opportunity for Neptune viewing a couple of weeks back, but it's just really tough to spot. Even with the 11-inch. I'm scrubbing through. Seems like Neptune doesn't come up till... Yeah, so Neptune is just below the eastern horizon. It would be in view in about 3 hours, right around where the moon is right now. But still, at some point in the future, I'm going after those planets, like try and get a Uranus and Neptune shot at some point. Yeah, when I first started, like a few years back, I think I got a shot of Neptune. It definitely looked like a blue dot when you zoomed in, so I feel like, yeah, it looks like a star for a whole long time until you kind of really, unless you have excellent guiding and let it really settle. But yeah, let's play some Neptunes. I wanted to title the video, Ask Me About Any Conspiracy and Let's Talk About It. But since y'all are here, I'll just say it, and y'all let me know if you want me to talk about rando conspiracies. I want to change the whole paradigm from conspiracy theorists and theories to conspiracy analysts. That's really more what it is, because conspiracies obviously exist. Bubonic for You says, what's the graph at the bottom right? That's the histogram. That's part of the camera. And I leave it up so people can see the settings, like the aperture and the f-stop, and then the histogram gives brightness. So that little peak is the fact that the moon is in the center of the screen. You'll see if I move the moon, the histogram will change a little bit. What up, Ellie Wynn? Evening. Nice to see you. Alright. New song. Here are a couple of older songs, but I haven't played them in a while. I'm gonna go switch it over to Jupes. Let's take a look at the moons. What up, Jackie? Nice to see you. Welcome. Pulling up Jupiter right here. Like I said, the seeing is a bit fuzzy tonight. Got a cool Galilean moon alignment, left to right. left, an Io, and Callisto, and then to the right, you got Europa hanging out by itself, and we can't see it, but right above Europa, you got Amalthea and Thebe. Much smaller and much dimmer moons. There is apparently the Great Red Spot, but right now I'm showing it with full aperture and high gain so we can see the moons. Nice, Astrolive. You captured Uranus and Neptune, but their moons not yet. That's cool, man. That's tough. Bit fuzzy tonight, right? Bubonic for you, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Good to have everybody here tonight. Good to cruise through space once again with y'all. Yeah, today's been cooking in Florida for sure. It felt like the AC wasn't even working. I walked in as it was still warm. But yeah, it's still pretty nice actually. It's a bit clearer than even before when I first set up. Like, I really thought the focus on the scope knob, the knob on the scope focuser had broken. Because I was like, damn, I can't even get Jupiter semi-focus, but this is alright. Yo, what up there, Cleary? How you doing? Did I miss anybody? Let me know. Welcome, everybody. So yeah, I was thinking about like trying to write a show tonight and come up with a concept that I would read and go through. And I don't really have it. I didn't figure it out yet. I spent more time just kind of trying to get the audio better, and I switched it from the 6-inch scope to the 8-inch, so I cleaned that and like fixed the wires. But yeah, here we go with a nice Moon, Saturn, Jupiter conjunction. We got Antares as well. A lot of things happening in space tonight. What did I check out in the news? I saw that India is launching a rover, the ISRO, which is going to land on the moon some point in the next couple of months, 3 months or something. I saw some fancy animation. I think it's launching today or tomorrow. I either missed the live stream or they didn't live stream it, or maybe it's delayed. Anyway, that's pretty fascinating. I gotta say the animation, while kind of ad hoc, is very detailed, but it also kind of looks just there are a lot of questions that I have, so I'm going to be watching that and seeing if there's any footage going to the moon, which would be incredible. I don't know, I'm always so disappointed by the images that the rovers, like the Chinese rover, sent back from the surface of the moon. It just looks so strange. It's hard to gauge whether it's like real or fake, or if it's real, the lighting is just so strange and the colors are weird. I know that weird is not really a good definer, but to me it just doesn't feel the same as how I would imagine the moon's surface to look. That's just me. Jackie is, let's see. How does this sound? Is this a little bit better? I'm running my mic through a pedal board, so I'm trying to get like a good vocal sound with what should be a good, like a guitar pedal. So forgive me. Let me know if it sounds a bit clearer. Astrolive says, I heard about that. I think they launch it today, right? It said like 5 p.m. Eastern, but I was on and nothing happened for like an hour. Vision says, good to have live PD back. Huh. Not sure what that is. Maybe I'm missing something. Oh, good. Okay. I think I'm also talking into a unidirectional microphone. So if I speak from the side like this, it goes really, really low. All right, I'll do my best. All right, so cool configuration of jupes. I'm going to see if I can zoom in and get a tiny shot of the details on the surface. See some great red storm. Yo, what up, astronomy live stream? Radar says cloudy. Yeah, it feels cloudy, but like I'm seeing jupes pretty clearly, and the moon's, it doesn't have a nary a cloud in front of it. Saturn's definitely covered right now, but we'll see. All right. It's not horrible. So I don't see the Great Red Storm anywhere. I feel like it probably moved to the right already. Didn't change. Okay. That's how it sounds in my headset. It feels like it's a unidirectional mic, but maybe I'm wrong. Or perhaps it's colliding with the background audio. So typically the setup is that I can do all the audio from my Mac and send that into the PC that I stream from. But what I'm trying to do is actually stream from this one PC because I couldn't move the Mac. That's the situation. So this PC has latency on it. I can't really tell like if the headset monitor that I'm listening to my voice in plus the audio coming from my my tune player. What am I running this off of? Yeah, just like the Windows. The Windows. Anyway, so intermittent clarity on jupes. You can see Europa to the right. I'm going to try and mess with the filters real quick and see if we can get a touch more. A little bit of sharpness. Also, thanks for the note. Vision. Yeah, yesterday, the beginning of the stream was like plugging in that, the foot pedal for the first time. So it was all over the place, I think. But noted. Alright. Shifting this gamma, bit of contrast, and got actually a lot more detail. It's nice. Hey, what's up there, Paula Gilly? Nice to see you. Thank you. Do I use a voice meter? Typically, like when I use my Mac, so I have iTunes running all the tracks, for example, and then I'll use Logic to actually talk into with its own compressor and limiter and everything, and then I'll stream that together from an audio interface into the PC, into open broadcast software. And that's how like I'm really such a stickler for the audio on my shows. So tonight what I'm doing is like I have this Boss pedal board, and I'm running like an old school microphone that I had laying around. What is it? It's actually a pretty decent microphone. It's a Sennheiser. And so I'm running in the pedal board, and then the pedal board like audio out mono into the PC mic input. So I know it sounds probably like crap, but comparatively. But I think it's doing okay right now. As long as I don't have too much latency, I can talk to y'all without like losing my mind. It gets very binaural. Astronomy live streamed it. Says, I'm fighting with Celestron Rasa 8-inch, long story. Damn. It must suck to have such a cool toy and have it not working properly. I'm happy to listen to what's wrong with it. Is it like not calibrated, or what are all those things? Like I guess the Rasa is supposed to be it's the front camera, right? Front mirror, where you put the camera at the top end of the scope, or is it the one? Yeah, maybe I'm having it confused with the F2 but that seems like a really complicated setup. I'm spacing because like it was about 2 years ago when I last looked into getting the focal reducer for the front of the Nexstar series. It costs like $1,000. And it really makes these telescopes much more able to capture deep sky objects, turning like an 8-inch scope to an f2.4 is it? Or f2, basically. Just a lot more light gathering, lot speedier. So until then, I'm getting the Rasa 11 ready, waiting on a conversation kid for their motor focused. Be here in a few days. Well, it's a great field to be dabbling in. So all the ups and downs will end up yielding great results. Anyway, we got nice banding on Jupiter right now. It seems like that kind of atmospheric turbulence cleared up a bit. You can see really nice in the dark band to the lower third. You can see a bit of the purling. Nested fractals. Yes, it goes on the corrector exactly from the front, F2. Okay, cool. I don't know why I just got real mixed up with that. I remember looking into it in real detail, and then for some reason I was mixing it up. All right. More tunes. All right, a bit more jupes, and then we'll head back to the moon and Saturn soon. Conversion kit. Conversation kid. Pretty good, pretty funny. Last couple of weeks have been full of puns.
What does it all
Yeah, that Rasa is going to do some amazing stuff, man. I hope you get it done quick. Like, what's the optimal seasonal viewing for you? Is it summertime or is it like fall? Yo, what's up there, Duplicate? Ow. An electric evening to you. Almost morning. Alright, let's head on over to the moon. Just looking up some articles and stuff. I was thinking about talking about articles or reading comments from Electric Universe videos and commenting on that. Let me know in the chat if you want me to do shit like that. Or I was also thinking, ask me about any conspiracy. Let's debunk or analyze all conspiracies. But then I thought, let's just roll with it and see how people feel. So I'll be back in a couple. I want to switch it over to the moon. Peace out, Bubonic. I see it's a camera thing. That seems really complicated. Well, I shall live vicariously through you while you suffer. I know I've been there until I got this rig together. I almost don't want to upgrade because it's so consistent. Yeah, the Sony a6 V and previously the a6.3 and the a6000 have been so super reliable in terms of like workflow, quick. Obviously the A6Ks originally used to overheat a lot, but you know, I had some workarounds, and then the A6.3, A6.5 basically almost never overheat. You got 4K for really budget, and then you get this kind of shot with an 8-inch scope. It's pretty nasty. Yeah, David, I gotta go check your channel and see what you've been posting. I'll be honest, I haven't seen it in like maybe a month or two. Let me go do that right now. So I'm checking out your last video. That's the moon and M13 in 4K. I'm on Astronomy Livestreams channel. That's a really nice shot. Really nice shot, man. Where's M13? That's awesome. Cluster in Hercules. That's a pretty dope shot, gotta say. Alright, what else have you posted? Have you posted anything with the Rasa? Let's see. footage of dog. And meditation lady. Yeah, post some amazing stuff from the Rasa, man. I'll check it out. Astrolive says, it's tricky, I want to get the Zewo ASI 1600 for deep sky. Yeah, I've been eyeing that for a long time. I just know that I'm going to get it and like use it a couple of times because of like the necessity to use Sharp Cap or any of those programs that aren't as pretty as OBS. And I think it should just, unless I'm crazy, and you can use those cameras with OBS or like a simple streaming platform, that would be incredible. I have, what do I have, the 174, I think, the MC174. And it's a great cam, but like a cooled 1600 would be incredible. And further than that, like I've always yearned to kind of consider like black and white as well, because like that's where you get a lot of detail and you can get super high frame rates. It's just something else to buy. I've invested a lot of money in the rig so far, and I feel like it's really nice and steady right now. In like a couple years, maybe really do a big jump with like the rise of 8K. Like get on top of that, and then what else? There'll definitely be 8K or at least approaching 8K. There'll probably be 6K first. Fake 8K, and then maybe 4K 60. That's the next big jump, but you don't really need that. It's going to make things really smooth. The other big problem is really data transfer. So capturing this stuff like raw is just a ton of work to download to your computer, to save, and even to manage and label and discard the ones that you don't need. It's like such a constant process for me, it almost makes it like a chore. Even though it's great to be able to see the content, if it were faster, it would be a lot of fun. But it's a chore because the files are like, what, like 4, 8, 10, 12 gigs sometimes. And the images are all like 25 megabytes each. So going through like a whole series of images, trying to cull a few, even in Camera Raw or like Lightroom, it's still a chore. So right now, like I constantly am gathering 4K data, and you see I run the camera for like 30 minutes at a time. That file tends to be like 24 gigs sometimes, 20 to 24 gigs, and it's just insane to like, actually wait, yeah, it's crazy. But the moon's looking awesome. Get back to it. I've been eyeing it on the other screen. I definitely have the gamma turned down a little bit so it's nice and sharp. Push up, actually let's get some more saturation in there. Nice colors coming out of serenity, tranquility. Yeah, good luck with the ISS transit, ALS. I haven't gone after any types of transits in a while. It's tough. You need a range of being able to slew at least 30, 40 degrees to really try and capture anything for an extended period, and I only have like 15 to 20 at any given moment. What's up, Mata? So did we land on this thing or what? I'm of the mind that it's good to question. Even if we did, you know, we should be going back. It should be a regular thing. It should be a public space program. We should be able to talk about it, and I think that people who doubt the moon landing missions should be able to discuss it. It's one of these massive events in our cultural epoch that we have to face and it either unifies or divides us on many different levels, among many other types of conspiracies and theories and other paradigms. But moon landing is one of those things that really is a hot spot, and it's also one of those conspiracies that's a positive conspiracy. Nobody wants to let go of the idea that we did this thing. However, we've got missions planned, right? People, or at least the governments that, or whatever agencies, private industry or governments actually planning to send moon missions. We'll just have to look at that data critically and make the best judgment we can as people. Or at least that's what I'm planning on doing. Matto says, celebrating 50 years of deception. Hey, I like deep down there is a big part of me that feels that way. At the same time, I want to leave room for the fact that it could be a possible thing. Maybe it's something where it's very easy to do it, and then it was done publicly a few times, and then it's been done privately ever since then. So maybe that's a possibility. So I don't want to be one of those people that's like, yeah, for sure, not happen, no way. But I definitely lean towards the radiation, and that being the main sticking point with all those missions, pretty much every mission. Magnetic, not only like solar radiation, but space radiation, micrometeorites, unforeseen events, other objects, space junk, solar flares, solar maximums, what other things? I guess Van Allen radiation belts at the very bottom of my list. There's so many other things besides the Van Allen radiation belts that are really a problem for human life. So for me, it's really something that I feel like we should be able to talk about. That shouldn't be, no one should be insulting somebody else over this debate. That's how I feel. So I'm still open to everything. Maybe it happened, that would be amazing. I'm also one of those people that's like, if it's revealed that it was a hoax or that it was fake and that we actually are all trying to get to the moon now, I'd be totally fine with it. I'm over retribution at this point, because I would just like to have a public space program where everyone was involved and it was a big humankind mission to understand space together. But that's the idealist in me. Yeah, the moon's looking mighty nice tonight. 97% illuminated. Coming in flanked by Saturn to the left and Jupiter to the right. I wasn't even aware of how many cool conjunctions were happening this month until I checked today. I was just like, I should see what's going on, or what's been happening, and then what's coming up. And it's just we got full moon in Saturn coming up tomorrow and the day after. And then there'll be Jupiter in the sky really, I want to actually try and capture Jupiter by itself after this moon phase. That'll be great. Astro Live says by 2024, yeah, but you check that out and you'll see that they are not actually going to land on the moon by 2024. That's putting something in orbit around the moon in 2024. So the actual date of landing on the moon is 2028 or 2030 at this point. And I guarantee you that the entire mission will change by that point, or at least by 2020, 2025, things will change. So maybe it is an independent or privatized race with orbiters or rovers that happens soon. And we'll see with this Indian rover if it happens, but I'm skeptical because we don't get this live feed of the kind of entire journey from Earth to the moon. So with Apollo, you can go back and actually look at all these videos, watch these videos of the journey from Earth to cislunar orbit and to the moon and back. And you can make your own judgment. And a lot of it looks very genuine. And a lot of it, not a lot of it, but at least 20% of it looks really suspect. And so there has to be this place where we can discuss lunar missions and NASA and space program in a way that's adult and polite, and also come to a place where we can all really agree on something, or at least agree on what the future holds for space. And it's hard to have that conversation now because really almost any dialogue that you have with somebody about the moon instantly, excuse me, let me just lower this music. Instantly turns into a discussion about, the moon landing, and then, the mistrust that people have for government agencies and or NASA and or programs like that. And that's really, that's something that has to be quelled to some degree so that you can kind of move past and figure out like what we want to do next, because we don't want to live 50 years in the past. And I don't think there's going to be retribution. So then what? Don't we want like to get to the moon, or to know if we can get to the moon at all? Anyway, so got clouds coming through. Clouds moving fast, indeed. Astronomy live stream. Let's only agree that the Earth is round. If it wasn't, cats would have pushed everything off by now. So, let's see. We got Prelin 1972. Jack, just want to say what's up. Welcome to all the suspect alien emojis. Ask me a question. Happy to answer if you're new. Just the note about the flat Earth stuff, that's a thing that has propagated, and I think like pushing, that whole edge of the Earth and all these memes, the memification of conspiracies, I think is funny to some degree, but also like it's very important to kind of remove some of this this mockery of other people from scientific debate. I know that sounds way too serious for a late night program where everybody's cooked, but I think that space actually like deserves that kind of respect where we're able to talk to one another about something so incredibly, that feels supreme, and it's not God or anything like that really, but it might be, see, that's my past atheist jumping to conclusions, being like, that's definitely not God. Why would it be God? Shut up. But really, it could be anything. This moon is like unbelievable, and clouds are unbelievable. It's kind of going back to that notion of that oceanic feeling when you're first birthed into this world and everything is new. I think part of where science has also gone wrong is where it's just that. Oh, it's just that. Oh, these ripples? Oh, that's just that. It's this kind of throwaway mentality, just talking about science as if like, okay, that's settled, that's fine. Why are we even talking about this? But yet we have so many details about sports stars and pop stars and celebrities and all these tiny things about food and car engines, etc., and very little granularity about our space program and the future of space junk, and the Van Allen radiation belts. All of it is, mired in conspiracy talk. And I'm, all for talking about conspiracies, but there's almost no real middle ground where anyone's talking about what that really is. I thought the last solar eclipse in South America looked amazing on stream, gotta be honest. Alright, let's record some of this. I can't believe I haven't been recording. Just got so deep in the conversation. Yo, what up there, Tom? Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, the Mercury transit on 11/11. So everybody's going to start buying solar stuff. I think I'm going to just stick with the same setup I've always had, the Nexstar 8 with the solar filter on the front, and hopefully a cooling system for the A65. I'll be streaming that for sure. It'll be the second Mercury transit of the sun that I've captured since I started, and that's crazy. Like, what a freaking odds. And then I think it won't happen for like 20 years. What's really fascinating is you can see these two Pareidolia numbers baked into the... So right in the center of the screen you got Mare Serenitatis, or Sea of Serenity. And to the right of it, and to the left of it, you have like these two little, what look like sinuous rails, or like carving into the surface, possibly electrical scarring, that look like the number 13. And then to the right, it looks like, it also looks like a number. Now it looks like a letter. maybe let's zoom in there and take a look. I'm always interested in the Pareidolia. Yo, what up? Tony Bath says, I saw the round object passing in front of Saturn live in one of your previous streams. It was pretty awesome to be there. Enjoy your streams. Keep it up. Hey man, appreciate that. Thanks for commenting and being there on that one. It was such a cool one. Like, that one still's tripping me because I don't know the size of that object, and I couldn't really find any more data around it. Alright, so let's zoom in on these two little numbers that I was pointing out. There's a lot of Pareidolia, but like this one just standing out to me. So here's the 13, or is it 1B? 1B. Let me know if y'all can see that. I'm going to try and pull up the atlas here so I can actually label things correctly. Yeah, so this is around Hadley's Rim, Mons Hadley, Promontorium Fresnel. It's the bridge of the Apennine mountain range. Alright, just sorting out all these different windows. What's up, Miguel? How's it going? Alright, Duplicat says Pareidolia is a psychological phenomenon that causes people to see patterns in a random stimulus. This often leads to people assigning human characteristics to objects. Thanks, Google. Yeah, sorry if I didn't explain that. I figured most of y'all are regulars. You've heard me talk about it. So it's a bit fuzzy. I'm going to zoom back out, but right here, that's a 13, and then let's cross all the way to the right and see this other feature. I don't know why I'm just pointing these two out, because when I looked at it earlier, those two kind of popped out at me as somehow feeling like they were the same type of width and structural size. So I can't tell what this really looks like. It looks like an R or a K, or it's just like the dark lines. I'll zoom in one more. It's actually just the rim of the crater. Which crater that is, I want to say is Littrow. No, this is actually Taurus crater. Yeah. So this kind of crater with the darkened portion above, Taurus, and then the brighter one to the bottom right, that's Vitruvius. It just has such an interesting darkened region. Could be because of the shadow, but it actually looks because like it looks like the regolith itself is actually darkened. It's really cool to see some of this libration portion to the right of Mare Crisium. You can see Mare Marginis and also, what is it, Mare Undarum, those kind of regions. Yeah, so the one to the right of Mare Crisium is the large central dark portion. And to the left of that, you got a very bright white crater with 3 points of light coming off it called Proclus. So to the right, Crisium, you've got really good views of Mare Marginis. And then north of Mare Marginis, you got El Biruni, Goddard, Ibn Yunus, and at the bottom, Dreyer, Nepper, and Jansky rather. And then to the bottom right, around the 5 o'clock position, if you follow Crisium downwards, you'll see Mare Undarum, underarm, Mare Underarm, no, Mare Undarum, I think is how it's pronounced. And that has a bunch of different features in it. It's kind of that darkened portion cut into the white. Always stands out to me as feeling kind of almost like cloud swirls and fractals, and almost like letters or characters. And I feel like letters and geometric characters kind of emanate from these electrical phenomenon. Yo, what's up? Sorry. Damn, that was loud. Sorry if I blew your speakers out. What's up, MM? Hey, dudes. Astronomy livestream might do the Mercury transit in both white and H alpha side by side. Man, you got the grandest dreams. I hope you do that. The better and cooler our setups are in capturing these events, the happier I am. So I hope that works out. Like I said, I'm a bit safe with my setup right now. It's so kind of consistent, getting the Mercury transit, getting the 80% lunar, the 80% solar eclipse back at 2 years ago. I can't believe that whole setup worked with the 8-inch scope and the front filter and the A6 III, and it didn't overheat, and I was able to stream like for 4 hours. Like I'm sure I brought that up before, but it's really just a phenomenal, either a really lucky incident or a very stable scope setup. So I think come November, I'll still have this set up, so I'm probably sticking to it. Yeah, I'll be streaming for at least another hour, I think. I definitely want to capture some Saturn tonight. Depends on the budget and what you want to use it for, but a really good one would be the Celestron Nexstar 6. You can get the 4, but if you kind of get really good bang for your buck around the 6. if you have $1,000 to spend or like $1,200 to spend, I would get the 8-inch if you're ready to kind of do it more seriously quickly. But if you really are thinking, oh, I'll be a beginner for a while and I just want to test things, a really nice one for around, I think, $700 probably is the Nexstar 6. The 4 is like in the $500 range. And I'd recommend getting a more serious scope right off the gate, because you're just going to set it up, check out the moon, and immediately want more magnification. So get something that you can kind of use magnifying lenses with, like 2x's and 3x's. Get something that you can, switch mounts and get a mount that's useful. But if you really want something for like $200-300, there are a lot of beginner scopes. It would be hard to really recommend. It would just kind of be based on what you liked. I tend to think do a lot more research and invest in a good scope right out the gate. Yo, what's up, Cichlid Visuals? How you doing? What up, Eat All Your Fish? Hey, yeah. MM says I need a new hobby. Well, this hobby is limitless. So yeah, do a bunch of research. Check out Cloudy Nights forums. I'm repeating myself a lot tonight, guys, just because I feel like some words are coming out really thick and I don't even think I'm making sense. And this is likely due to the latency in my headphones. So forgive me if I sound like I'm just repeating things too many times. But anyway, MM says, need a new hobby. So yeah, I don't know, astronomy and astroimaging are two different things as well. So if you want to just get a scope to look at things, it's a cheaper hobby and it's a lot less stressful. But if you would get into this whole thing with astroimaging and a laptop and a camera, then it's a whole other world. And you kind of see what's possible. So Cloudy Nights forums, also on YouTube, there are tons of really good people who do beginner stuff, reviews for telescopes. Dylan Thomas, I think. This other British dude. I kind of haven't checked that stuff out in a long time, but those are the people who really helped me before I bought anything. Astronomy Livestream says there might be a Sony a7000 announcement on the 17th. Yeah, I think that's probably like an instant purchase for me. That's the next step up, and like, why not just get it? But I've actually been considering like potentially upgrading the streaming card. So I have the AVIO 4K, but kind of want to get a slightly better, more consistent system. So we'll see. The A7000 on the radar. Eat All Your Fish says going to be able to see the lunar eclipse. That kind of, I think it's going to be like a partial lunar eclipse. I'll be trying for that for sure. Yeah, the 8 SE was my first scope. And that's the one we're actually looking at the moon through right now. So it's really a reliable and scalable telescope. It's kind of amazing. Like, this is the original tube. I've never cleaned the inside, and I've done so many shows with this and all the different events. Like, I really enjoy using the 11-inch lately just because of the stability and the steadiness, and the kind of tracking is excellent on that. And of course, the 11-inch gives you better detail. It's an all-round better scope, except for the weight and the fact that you just can't mess with it. Once you set it up, you just have to leave it. But it is really a great scope. So I gotta say the CPC 11 and then the Nexstar 8 are the two kind of ranges for homebrew that I think can really last you a long time. And then you just upgrade the camera system. But again, also last night I did the stream with the 6 SE, and it comes with the same 8 SE like single arm mount, and that's the one we're actually using right now, the single arm with the 8-inch Nexstar. But yesterday was a 6, and the 6 is really pretty solid, and it shaves a few $100 off the top of the budget. So you could do both. You could do the 6 and get like a killer camera. It depends on the budget really, but 6 or 8 can't go wrong. No word on the A7S3. Yeah, those cameras are still out of my reach at this point, mostly because like it's not just the camera. Like first it would be a bit cheaper because I wouldn't be getting a lens, so I'd just be getting the body, but it's about $3K. And but on top of that, you'd really need the batteries, and you need the battery pack, like the AC thing. So that's at least another 100 or 2. And then you need the memory cards, which are at least another couple of hundred. And you need an adapter. It's like an entire $1,000 on top of one of those camera bodies. So $4,000 or $5,000, man. I don't know. To see what we see right here, just a little bit better. Maybe a lot better, but I don't know. I think it's negligible. It really depends on, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's the envy in me talking. But I've seen some of the A7 R2 shots, and they are incredible. So it is better, so just a little bit clearer, but still. Got to go with the flow. In fact, I would love to kind of see just like one of those killer ASI cameras, like the 1600, if that could be flowed into OBS in a cool way, open broadcasting software, because those are the cameras that really kind of could get amazing detail. All right, I know I'm not focusing much on the scoping right here, just talking to y'all, but I'm gonna take a little break, stretch the legs, and let's see what's going on with Saturn. Let's see what's going on with Jupes. A7000 will get a bigger battery. Yeah, already that's gonna cost like what? It'll start at $1,600. It'll probably be a $2,000 purchase. But I don't know, this A65 is pretty good still. Tico's looking nice. MM says, do I ever compare shots of the moon to see if there are differences over time, like craters and such? So I want to say mostly yes. And mostly what I've noticed is that features on the moon look different at different phases and at different times of viewing them from a certain perspective. And that to me seems the most reliable pattern that I've noticed. So if you go back and look at particular streams where I'm noting, like in the title it'll be like waning gibbous 23 or waxing gibbous 96, or full moons, you can check that. But typically full moons like either plagued by clouds or are washed out, so I'm not doing a lot of close-ups typically. But if you look at certain like waning crescents and waxing crescents from different times of the year and different times of the phase, you'll see that, like, for example, Aristarchus looks a certain way at a certain time, at a certain angle all the time. You start to get to know these patterns. And so when I do close-up tours and I talk through it with the Atlas, I'll make note in certain streams where I'm like, oh, that looks like I haven't seen it there before. Or that shadow looks interesting. I haven't seen it cast that long of a shadow. So that's sort of how I've been approaching it. It's one of those really difficult things in terms of data management and data assessment to be able to go back through, tons of terabytes of videos over time and compare those, simply because it takes forever to open them. Every file takes like a bunch of minutes to, spinny beach ball open up, and then you have to scrub through them, and that takes forever, and to like really crop those and find each moment. So I've tried to do it from a mental perspective and then log that and make a mental note during a stream. So at some point when we can kind of AI through all these video archives and pick up particular keywords, we'll be able to do an artificial intelligence search for craters over time, and it'll pick up all my videos with Aristarchus at a particular phase, and you can see the difference. So maybe my mind is not noticing those differences, but that visual record is there. So for example, this particular phase typically is one of the best phases to see most of the details on the moon at once. It's right before a full moon, and it definitely doesn't get sharp on the flip side of this. So like a waning 96 to 90% waning gibbous moon typically doesn't appear as clear as we're looking at this now, even though we have atmospheric turbulence. The shot actually from even last night and tonight, you get this really interesting ability to see a lot of the prominent features on the moon in great relief. That's just how I look at it. I have a lot of still photos that I go through and compare, and you kind of see that, for me at least, this particular phase, I have some really killer, like, clear shots from this particular phase. I have some, like, for example, typically the last quarter moon, what would that be? Like a 50% waning gibbous moon, or last quarter. Those phases are really hard to get a very clear shot of, whereas the 50% waxing gibbous, where it's on its way to being full, those 50% shots are super crisp. I have like at least a bunch of them that are extremely crisp, and I have very few waning 50% moons that are like nearly as crisp. So maybe it's just because of where it is in the sky, where it's rising, where we take that photo. Usually that's very late, so that's where the sun is coming up and it reflects it differently. Those are the types of patterns that I've been noticing for these years. What's going on, Donald C? Have I ever caught anything moving on the far side? So the far side is the side of the moon that we don't see, and the dark side, or the Earth-shine side, is the area that's underneath the terminator line right now, which is only about a few percent of the moon left. But typically the dark portion, like on a 50% waxing crescent, 50% waxing gibbous or 50% waning gibbous, that's Earth-shine or dark side. So never captured anything on the far side, and I've captured a lot of interesting formations of the dark side of the moon, the Earth-shine portion. When you turn up the ISO on the camera, you can kind of see through and see different features underneath the darkness. And so there are a bunch of different videos that I have that show that. AstroLive says, I want to get the Sony Alpha. I just worry that it won't be compatible with my telephoto lens or T-mounts. I gotta say I've been able to use pretty much every type of lens, from the fisheye to like the Sigma 500mm, 300mm. I've used a bunch of them. The T-mount adapter works pretty much across the board. What are you working on right now? ALS says the A6 V should drop in price big time. That's for sure. That should really help a lot of people move into really solid 4K for an acceptable price range, probably like $1,200. Yeah, I would double check. I mean, I'm speaking from experience with two Sony Alpha 6000s, one A6300 and one A6 V, and they've all used basically the same T-mount that I got from the beginning. and that goes into a 1/4-inch mount, a 1.25 inch mount. But it also has the rings internally, and I've also gotten a bunch of different extender tubes for like my macro setup, and so I was able to kind of use those as extenders and create different variations in tube length to get different lenses to work. So I've used macro lenses like the 1-to-1 macro, what's the one? What's that called? Man, I'm blanking on a lot of these brand names tonight, but whatever. It'll come to me. The Venus Laowa, that's it. As soon as I say I'm not going to remember it, I remember it. So the Venus, I had to get a bunch of different things to actually make that work, but that's an amazing macro lens. I've used the Rokinon f2.4. That one's a really fun lens. Sure thing, Donald. Also, I've got, if you want to see any, I forgot to finish the part of that, which is I have videos of cool things on the far side, on the dark side, not the far side, but I have a playlist of transits that include ISS and Hubble and weird satellites and rando objects. So if you want to check that playlist out, or old videos, there are a lot of interesting like phenomenon that are unanswered, quote unquote. Yeah, exactly. Astrolive says Cichlid Visuals confirms, says the Sony E-mount can be adapted to anything. Yep. All right, let's hit up Jupiter. Let me take that little break I was talking about 20 minutes ago. All right. Fun night tonight, y'all. 12:18 a.m. rolling into Monday. Alright. So, MM's asking if there's an automated mounting system that can track certain celestial bodies like coordinates. So in a way, or in a lot of ways, what you're looking at right now is basically an automated remote control system. It's got a handheld remote that connects to a single arm mount, and that mount has information in it, or like software in it. Actually, the hand control really has a software in it, but there is probably, actually, I don't know that for sure, but there might also be software in the scope itself that communicates with it. And so right now it's basically tracking Saturn quite poorly, but it is tracking it. And then those systems kind of range from consumer level to laboratory level, where it's perfect and there's no wobble and there are correctors. So for example, if you run a type of little camera on top of a scope that's pointed at a star, that can kind of keep the scope centered at all times by using reference points. So another smaller camera, more low resolution, is actually is keeping the scope tracked by trying to constantly put the star in frame, while the other camera is actually gathering data. And there are more complicated systems that, actually, I want to say less complicated systems that use just like Wi-Fi, GPS. I feel like I'm drifting further and further away into space. We got a close-up of Saturn right here. I was going to check out Jupiter and then notice that Saturn was coming up. Got a close-up of the moons. Obviously the brightest is Titan. And I'm just trying to figure out which the other ones are. Alright, so at the very top, very top, Titan. Underneath that, Rhea. To the bottom left of Saturn, you got Tethys. Mimas is not visible, but it's right above that. And then to the right top is Dione. That's all we can really see. As if that's not a lot. It is a lot. It's such a cool configuration tonight. Always awesome to see the Saturnian system. This is one of those things that I never expected to see during astro imaging. When I first got my stuff together, I was like, oh, definitely going to see Saturn, the planet, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to see Jupiter. But when you see it in the context of the moons and the stars, it's really a different thing. Especially that we have the cameras and streaming software to be able to actually measure that light coming from those stars and also incorporate Saturn. To quickly jump off tangent to a little conspiracy talk, that whole idea of seeing stars in space is such an interesting topic to me, and it's really also shrouded and mired in conspiracy. And that's such a shame, because it would be really great to understand what stars look like about when you pointed a camera outwards into space with Earth behind you at, let's say, 2 million miles out, or 10 million miles, or 50,000 miles, or kilometers rather. So we have all these shots from 200 kilometers, 500 kilometers, maybe 1,000, some satellite photos. But that whole kind of like, what does it look like when you go out into space with Earth behind you and just have just a camera turned on streaming back to Earth? That would be the real killer footage. Let me know if you think that's something cool, if you'd find that interesting, because I know it's just talked about and it's NASA doesn't do this and there is no footage, but I think there are missions going on, you know, things are happening, but we tend to not get that kind of footage of, you know, once the rocket leaves Earth orbit going to a planet, like the Juno missions, for example, or even the Cassini-Huygens mission. You really look at that, and most of it was just like one CGI, actually I'm not going to use that term, one computer generated image. CGI is just like such an old school term. It's like saying www or page me. So it's really computer generated. Anyway, you know, it's CGI, Terminator 2. It feels so antiquated. Jackie, take it easy. Just notice that you're heading off. Have a great night. Have a good week. What's up, Imagine? Vision says, how about a simple picture of Earth? Yeah, like there is the satellite that's at the Lagrange point that does take those pictures, and if it says, there's this video that says, you know, Earth from 1,000,000 miles out. But for me, there's something about, obviously we look at the celestial bodies, stars and planets and the moon through our atmosphere, so we get this kind of turbulent viewpoint, vantage point, and it looks really alive. So I would understand that maybe going out into space that things looked sterile, but it seems like things look too sterile. Does that make sense? It's like they're too cleaned up and too processed. And while I understand image processing now, and I've done stacking, and I've researched spectroscopy, and I've researched redshift, and I've done imaging, and I understand what infrared imaging means. You see that, and you just wonder why these pictures from outer space look somewhat neutered and devoid of that kind of feel of space, of like realistic looking footage. It's really understandable why these conspiracies exist, or at least why people like to analyze conspiracies, because these questions are actually really interesting. And mostly they're just sneered off or scoffed off or made fun of, instead of actually debating and talking about it as like a possible thing. Even though that does happen in circles, of course. But it should be just a public thing because it's just fun. Let's see, it makes you wonder why there's not a 24-hour live stream of Earth. You know, I agree, it would be great. I've kind of gotten away from feeling mad about that, because having done so many shows of space and having my own connection with Saturn and the moon, so now when I think about, like when I go to bed and I think about the moon, it's not Hollywood, it's not NASA, it's not JAXA, it's not ESA, it's not Neil deGrasse, it's a surface of the moon that I know personally. And I think it's more about that maybe than what NASA's gonna do, or if the government's ever gonna reveal the shape of Earth, so to speak. All right, I'm gonna head over to, let's take a look at Jupiter. You can see some really awesome star formations too. There's so much to talk about and so much to show. Alright, so Jupiter's looking really cool. It's like its own little spoon, little dipper, carrying Jupiter. I think it's Ganymede, Io, Callisto, Europa to the right. Probably gonna go either a cult or in front of Jupiter. AstroLive says, the problem with cameras is that they don't capture what the human eyes see. I would agree with that. However, they do capture shots like this that we sort of see in, it's really the fuzzy distortion that when you really open up the shutter and take in a lot of light on a camera sensor, this shot right here of Jupiter kind of feels like when you look at when you look up at Jupiter, it looks like it's shining brightly, like twinkling like a star, and you do see a bit of what looks like refraction or like light spikes from the lunar configuration of Jupiter, and that's with the naked eye. When you look at it with like a little telescope, you kind of see the brightness of Jupiter. It almost looks like a white spot, like what we see it here. And the moons are kind of barely visible, but you kind of see them. And then this shot right here with an 8-inch telescope with a blasted ISO and the gain turned up pretty high. You can see this kind of, you can see stars in the background, you see the haze, you see the kind of emanation off of Jupiter, the rays, this is the kind of realness from a shot that I wonder, like, if you're approaching Jupiter or Saturn with a craft, like it would beg the question, like, why wouldn't you put a camera, or what camera can't take a shot with the ISO turned up really high, the signal to noise, and the shutter open pretty high? It's the same thing when it comes to the whole stars on the moon. You say, like, they weren't there to take pictures, but of course they were there to take pictures. And then the reason they couldn't agree on whether there were stars in the background or if they could see stars on the surface of the moon really had nothing to do with cameras or optics. It really was like, are there stars when you're in space? And if there are, why weren't there settings to get stars in the frame? Because that's not really hard. All it is rolling up really the gain on the camera or opening up the shutter. And so if you have the access to take a photo with a trigger on the Hasselblad, then you should have been able to adjust exposure, which I'm pretty sure they were able to do that. So there should be shots with the exposure turned up all the way, and then you can see if there are stars. And I think those shots there are some shots that look like there are stars in the background, but one would think that in space with little atmosphere, you'd see the background would be awash in stars to the point where, like, you couldn't even decipher constellations. See, so that's where you start to think, well, ISS, for example, that takes shots in 4K, you do see the stars in the background in a lot of those videos, and that's the kind of shot that seems much more realistic. It's very hard to debunk the ISS shots, except to say that they're from 200 to 300 kilometers above Earth. So that particular shot of Earth from that height is an incredible shot that encapsulates, space and the aurora and the atmosphere and the ionosphere and almost like a lot of the Earth in one shot. Those shots are really hard for me to think, oh, these are fake. They look very realistic. But I would expect that the craft going to Jupiter, with Jupiter's really active environment and the way it looks to us, the kind of light that's radiating from it, it would seem that, like, as you're approaching Jupiter, you'd see an incredible shot, like with stars in the background and Jupiter looming in the distance as you get closer and closer. And so there is this little animated, just frame by frame animation of the approach from Juno approaching Jupiter with the moons going around. A very interesting shot of Jupiter at 50% illuminated, which we never see from Earth. So it's very hard to debunk that, because that's a shot of Jupiter that I don't think you can get from Earth. So obviously in some sort of orbit you can get a shot from the side. However, you'd think that we get like an incredible video of approaching Jupiter with all the atmospheric turbulence of what this planet would be emanating theoretically, or what it seems to be emanating, for the fact that we can see it, and the fact that the moons themselves are massive, like planets themselves. Realistic until I remember it's NASA. I don't know. I mean, obviously, like I'm saying, it's annoying that we get these tiny snippets, or at least the community that cares about this stuff gets tiny snippets that seem realistic, but are very flawed in a lot of ways that are very hard to articulate. And then the debate arises as if these pieces of content were put out to kind of instigate this annoyance with the system. Partially why I love talking about it, but I also love doing this show, which in a way is really the only way to kind of replace this corrupt system of astronomy and astrophysics and move past all these old paradigms and be able to talk about new things using the tools of the system. I don't want to say against them, because not against. It seems like these systems have to exist in order to motivate. I don't think they can be gotten rid of. But I think if people start doing their own version of astronomy, it's a small investment considering how much we invest in hobbies. And to get to know planets and the moon and space in general is almost this infinitely giving subject matter and technical accomplishment that you can do pretty much every day. I mean, especially if you get into solar and just weather patterns, even time lapses. And then you get away from space agency narrative. And then all of a sudden, then you have your own version of space. And I've kind of been preaching that since the get-go. I mean, that's the name of the channel. I couldn't think of anything better. You're really not going to stop like a powerful agency that has their own interests in space, who declare no-fly zones on the moon with no public way of defending those no-fly zones, and we have to just sit and watch that. So, as the public, what can we do? You can develop a relationship with space. You can use technical platforms to reach other people to talk about theories about the Earth and space and time, and like, for example, the electric universe. And so while we exist, we get to do that. It's very cool. You see this other star appearing above Europa to the top right of Jupiter. I love that it got clearer tonight. MM says, have I ever been on an airplane at night above the clouds and noticed that there isn't a star in the sky? I gotta say that I noticed when I was in Europe that there were stars, and it was the only night flight I really took. The other ones were always shrouded, just like too cloudy, or I was asleep. Never really thought about that until it kind of came up in the whole conspiracy world. But I don't know, that's a really hard thing to gauge. Like, I feel like taking an airplane flight is just this incredibly magical achievement, technical achievement that shouldn't really be possible. I see planes all the time and it blows my mind every time. Maybe I'm just caught in a primitive brain, but for some reason it's just like such an incredible thing in and of itself that culture is now deemed like just so normative. Just like, oh yeah, just take planes, it's no big deal. But you have to remember about 100, 200 years ago, people were just balking at the very thought of that being possible. And so I kind of look at physics and astrophysics in that same way right now. Like, can you imagine telescopes in 100 years? And I know a lot of people think that, you know, the Earth is going to end far sooner than that, but I feel like things might be around. Oh, I just noticed, sorry, Briarios Hino, enjoy the show, what's going on? Thanks, Miguel, for the compliment. All right, I'm gonna close up on Jupiter, see if we can see some more detail. Yo, what up, ALS? Welcome back.
Dangerous lecture. Formidable opponent. You can walk out. Formidable opponent. Think you had the choice. Formidable opponent. Angry crackpot. Formidable opponent. Dangerous lecture. Formidable opponent. You can walk out. Formidable opponent. Think you had the choice.
Yo, what's going on? Eton Chambers, how you doing?
Mixing your liquids, now you're left for dead. Just pay your debts. Flow, the moon is calling. A souvenir, a soon as rescue. Left fixing the phone, mixing your liquids, now you're left for dead. Just pay your debts. Flow, the moon is calling. A souvenir.
So the first shot you were looking at was Jupiter flanked by the 4 Galilean moons. Those were the very bright star-like shapes surrounding Jupiter at the center. And then when I switched it, I lowered the aperture and the gain so we could see the detail on the surface of Jupiter. And so to the right of that was Europa, and left of that was Callisto. 2 of those 4 moons. And then when I finally lowered it to the final shot, I actually got rid of all those because I just decreased the amount of light coming in, and so you can only really see the detail on the surface of Jupiter. That's sort of how it works in terms of resolving detail. Of course, you can use filters to increase the effect, like the contrast, for example. So in open broadcast software right now, Damn. Lost the moon. Come back. So that, for example, is the hand controller being at 9 speed. So every time I'm going from like Jupiter to Saturn to the moon, I want the hand speed to be at level 9 or the maximum level so it moves as fast as possible. But of course, when you finally center on an object, like the moon for example, I want to switch the speed to 3, for example, so it moves. So when I use the directional arrows, it moves much slower. But sometimes it's finicky and it doesn't really register that I switched. So it's this old school kind of telephone punch pad type remote control that's really very finicky and a real pain in the ass. If I gotta be honest. I can't believe we use such incredibly advanced devices and these remotes are so incredibly like poorly designed, but they work. And I understand like it's not this extremely popular, like people can't invest that much money in product development really, so they just make functional devices. And so engineers devise these remote controls for most handheld remote controls for mounts, and they're just like the cable remote controls that people have for televisions now, and most people really don't know what the hell they're doing with like a lot of the buttons on these pads. Anyway, lamenting remote controls. Made it work. Carolina, what's going on? Hearts. Nice to see you. 3 golden hearts. I appreciate it. Glad you caught it. I've been going for a while, but I still got some energy. I've been showed some Saturn, some Jupiter, back at the moon right here. Got some fuzzy logic. Sorry, Carolina, it took me a second. I was just in my thoughts. Tom Buddha said Galileo with his 3x scope. They are moons. Astro Live says LOL uses RJ11 phone cables. Yeah, just that alone, the phone cable situation, the fact that like it's baked into the actual remote and you can't swap it, the coil, has made me drop the remote control so many times, and so many times like on streams it'll drop or like smash to the floor, and I have like 4 of them or 5 maybe every time, and it's just like from stupid telephone coil that you can't stretch and wants to wrap around everything. All right, rant over about stupid remotes. Second rant over. Am I down? No, I'm just like, I don't know. It's 1 a.m. on a Sunday. I'm working all weekend. Smoking a lot of cigarettes. So I'm feeling good. Every time I'm doing TakeBackSpace, I feel good. I gotta be honest. It's the one thing that it just feels like it's activism, it's science, it's nerding out, it's exciting and adventurous. It's like the limit and edge of science and space. It's another like piece of astronomic data that I get to add to the dielectric universe, and I get to share with cool people. It would be something I wanted. You know, I started the channel because I couldn't find people streaming anything. Like Crow wasn't streaming, Bill Bryson wasn't streaming, P&K wasn't streaming, and I went back actually and I saw that P&K and I started almost exactly the same month, and then like kind of went off on different tracks, but it was like pretty much the same time, and that was really it. So I'm golden, thank you. Yeah, the newest hand remote have USB cables. I have one of those, but you still have that coil thing that you can't take off. It's just so stupid. It's just one of those really antiquated concepts. But soon, hopefully they'll be just wireless. Actually, can I keep lamenting remote controls? This other one is the Sony remote that I probably complained about in the past, but so like, no, wait, where's music at? Where's this music at? Give me something chill. What's up, me? Right, so I have the Sony remote control, which has both been a blessing and a curse. And it's this little IR, so you have to be little remote control that allows me to take pictures, trigger the like video capture, allows me to focus, allows me to trigger the menu and do like the focus, like the zoom in shots from a few feet away. But because it's IR and you have to be within range and also pointed at the front of the damn camera, not at the back of the camera where it would be logical, but at the front of the camera. So you literally have to curve your hand and point it backwards at the Sony camera to trigger, or literally at the side of it. So over like I don't know how many damn hundreds of shows, I've had to literally aim backwards at the camera using this IR remote to do pretty much everything you guys see where I'm tracking something or zooming around and the scope is not shaking. That's done by remote. So this tiny little remote has like saved me just so much work and shaking of the camera and shit like that. But also like just such a pain to use. And they still haven't made one of those actually fully wireless yet. It's crazy. But that's my rant on the Sony remote. But also when I got it, it like changed everything. That and the AC battery pack for the Sony Alpha series. Like this huge advance. Alright, I'm going to move a little bit to the southern regions. Got a good portion of Serenity Tranquility. Let's take a look at Tycho, Borealis, right above Tycho Crater, we got Mare Nubium. To the left of that, Mare Humorum, and then Mare Cognitum. Those are the darkened regions. And the two long rays emanating from Tycho Crater have one tiny white crater to the top of them, top right. That's Borealis. I just like saying that. MM says, I put your streams on the big screen sometimes when I have gatherings at the house. People love it. Hell yeah, I love that. That's what it's about, man. Like I was talking about earlier with the cameras and like opening exposure and getting like more realistic captures, or things that feel realistic that have distortion and lens flare and dust and crap and atmosphere. I feel like that's the kind of footage that I yearn for. Every time I look at and it's not very often anymore, but even when I look at like today researching the Indian lunar rover, all that footage and the computer graphics are just so sterile. It doesn't feel exciting. It feels stagnant and cold. I'm just looking at the moon right now with the clouds. There's something so real and guttural about it. I think that's what really is lacking from space programming. I'm gonna play some of the newer stuff. So y'all are hanging out with me, 1 a.m. rolling around. What do we got? This is new.
Flow me on.
Hey, what's going on there, David Schmidt? Welcome. Just getting some clouds in here just now. Been going for maybe a couple hours or so. But yeah, good views tonight. The weather's possibly taking a turn here. Going for a little longer. What's going on, more jello? Please. A little more jello. Don't be jello. Can't stay, just wanted to check out your channel and maybe harass Jello a little. Sounds good. Might be winding down here shortly, as I said, but hang out. Don't drop this mic over here. Got this very fickle mic stand. Well, the mic, actually, it's this cool connector arm, this hinged arm for the mic, but problem is this cheapo desk doesn't have enough room for the, I'm really losing the word here, whatever it's called, the fork arm mount. There we go. Yeah, we got cool lunar configuration tonight. I got a quick zoomed in shot. Trying to get close up in here for a sec, but we got the clouds still. Europa is right on the edge. We got Ganymede up on the top left. I want to say Io and then Europa in the middle. It's not so cheapo, Ellie. It's alright, but I don't know, it's just the kind of, what is it? It's called the lid or the lip, I guess, is what I was looking for. Like the little edge of the table that leans out at the top. It's just, it only leans out just halfway to where I want to screw on this damn microphone arm. And like it just keeps kind of coming off every 2 seconds. It's crazy, it's like everything is built to not work. And every time it falls off, like it's really heavy because it's the old school mic. And it's also like the fork arm or whatever, hinge arm. Must be a word for it. Desk mount. So anyway, it falls on the floor and I have a new neighbor. It's going to like cause a riot if it falls. So I'm being very, P&K, Florida, am I right? I know, we're getting the same weather, huh? Thought we were gonna ride it out, but it looks pretty dark outside. Still so many cool things to see tonight, and Saturn actually looks like it's clear. So if Jupiter covers up, I'm gonna switch over to Saturn for a sec. Yeah, I know, man. It's crazy. Yo, what up, C. Smith? Alright, we got Saturn. Saturn. So much Saturn. I love it. I love doing the moon and the planets at the same time. I know that sounds weird, but you know, scoping and stuff. Not super duper clear, but definitely will tide us over. I see the moon getting clearer as well. Yo, thanks Keith, I appreciate it. You as well. Catch you in space. Get ready for that solar stuff in November. Get that Mercury transit on. Yo, peace out, David Schmidt as well. Yeah, no complaints about Saturn, right? Like, both of them got super great configurations tonight. Let some of this jammed out track play. It's called Oh Funk. Oh Funk. We're funked.
the buzzing stirs overhead. I say I can't believe this is the end.
Yo, yo, Outdoor Corey. Cheers, my brother. That's very nice of you. So happy that people enjoy my music. And that you referred it. That's really, really cool. I tell my friends and my family, like when they tell me about, like, this popular guy and this popular gal and this music guy and this whatever, I'm just like, I get people who really, really, like, even though it's a small portion of the population, what is it, 20, 30 people, 40 people, who are really the regulars, but just you guys who truly appreciate the music that I put out is like so much, I get so much gratification from that versus like needing to be on tour or, you know what I mean? Like it's just a completely different paradigm of producing music and sharing it with the public. I get to do what I love, which is astronomy. I also get to, you know, completely bypass all the copyright issues with having awesome audio on your channel. And then further, people really get to dig my music in a way that's very like intimate and personal for them. And I don't know, there's a direct connection to the artist. That's kind of what I would want out of a musician. So thanks so much for that, and I appreciate everybody's kind comments about the music. I know a lot of it is so rough, and like I'm not really like the best singer ever either. Still learning and growing as a singer, and like the music's also all over the place, and it's kind of like the theories and the shows. And I feel like it's philosophically the way I think about the world, which is I don't need these specific like one-line answers to explain everything. There are different versions of a lot of things, and that's how you can be explore a lot of different types of music and sounds and never feel like boxed into one thing. Play some stuff for y'all. Yo, thanks, David. Like I said, I don't really check Facebook that much, or almost at all anymore. You know, it was one of those things about like disappointing people with not responding to chats that were open all the time. And I feel like that's way too much pressure to put on somebody, especially somebody where like, it's not an aggressive communication, but like if you have 10 windows open talking to people all the time and then you don't respond to somebody, you start getting this anxiety. And so I kind of withdrew from that very early on. Tom, thanks so much, man. Ellie, thank you. Very kind. Ask what? If only we could. In dreams, perchance. Whoa. I'm getting some feedback on this microphone. I don't know how long have we been going. I feel like we might sit out this storm. The moon's coming back into view.
You really can't go away. to the light. You are the door. Made up of shells, I am the storm. Cause of the love, you are my light. Made up of shells, magnetic light. Cause of the force, gracefully fall. Made up of shells.
What's up, y'all? So, I think I'm going to start winding down here. I could keep going, but I think the clouds are just trying to settle. It's been a good stream tonight. Enjoyable chats, good peeps, good vibes. Keeping the dream alive for free space. Yeah, 2 hours and 35 minutos. I know, a couple more. We'll see if it goes away, but yeah, I might need to rest. Clouds from my bong, right? I wish. Actually, no. I don't have no bong no more. That was a long time ago, man. I don't think I could even deal with bong rips. The show requires some technical acuity, so I keep it to my cigarettes. It's so funny, I have this little bug on the screen, right on top of the streaming preview image, and it's bugging me out, pun intended. Feeling like there's a transit happening. I know it's not, but like out of the corner of my eye, I just keep going back. I'm like, oh my god, that's a dot. Because I have this two screen set up. Yeah, I appreciate it. Astro Live. What up, Laos, Brooklyn? Cheers, American Life Videos. Also, shout out to you. What's up? Don D says, play your guitar live, bro. I guess I could. No, I can't because I'm running the microphone through and I don't have the mixer here. So back when I'm on the 11, I'll play some live guitar. Also, I'm getting real tired, as you can tell. A little bit drifty. This moon is being trippy right now. Everybody's talking about the Pareidolia, but just the clouds like making it wash and light and then dim and then wash. It's like an ebb and flow. You can read the cloud movements and the brightness. Station switcheroo. Alright, let's see what we got. I'll just stop on something that I find interesting. It's not your favorite libation. Not my favorite libation period of the phase. Chrome Fantastic request. Somewhere. I'll look for it after this. American, what's your favorite libation phase? Sorry, I'm just going along with it. I just were you making the joke about libration versus libation? Not sure if you were joking, but it's pretty funny. I thought about it. But yeah, this is, what is it, the 97% waning, waxing gibbous tonight. What is your favorite phase of the moon, is what I was asking earlier, to clarify. Alright, astronomy live stream, I'll keep a look out. I've actually finally gone through my recent emails, so it should show up at the top. Outdoor Corey says, Chrome Fantastic. You got that queued up for you, brother. Right here, coming up. Boom.
Shine a summertime, you were my love, now you're gone, I ain't attention. Crow fantastic. You fold your viewers in reverse. I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven a long, long way. You took my love, you took my love, you took my love away. I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven a long, long way. You took my love, you took my love, you took my love away. I'm driven along, I'm driven along, I'm driven a long, long way. You took my love, you took my love, you took my love away.
pretty funny because I was thinking about the other day that some of the lyrics to my songs are actually really strange. Like the one I just covered up by muting it, but Golden, this verse about 44 versus 44, the caterpillars multiplying. I can go through some of my songs with y'all and talk about the lyrics, but the simple answer is this, that I've explained my songwriting process on a couple of streams, but so sorry if some of you have already heard it, but a lot of the times I'll lay down a track and then I'll try and find, like, I'll arrange it as like a verse, chorus, and then a verse 2, chorus, maybe solo out. I kind of have a structure for certain songs, and or a template for the way I want to write songs, and then I'll kind of lay down this vocal line, and a lot of the times I'm humming words. So if you followed the channel for a while, you probably heard me ad-lib or make up songs live. So a lot of the times I play it pretty safe when I'm doing live shows in terms of like chord structure and things like that. You all hear when I make mistakes all the time. But with some of these tracks, like, it's really like I hum through most of these songs. I create a vocal melody that I like, or even a cadence, or even a few notes that make sense in terms of like a satisfying hook. And then once I lay that down, some lyrics are in there already, or ideas, and then I'll go back and I'll re-listen to the track and I'll basically type out every word that I can decipher from the humming track. And the humming track usually sounds like weird shit, a lot of which end up in some of these songs that y'all have heard over the years that I never went back and changed, simply because I love Yes and a few of the prog bands like Genesis and I think even Rush, and a lot of the great bands that we love. Really, just a lot of the lyrics are pure nonsense when you really read them, and not in the sense like, yeah, they allude to conspiracies and they allude to myths and they allude to politics and stuff like that, but a lot of it, like in a string of words, seem a bit like nonsense. And they kind of just, they're picked based on, sorry, I don't have the shield, by the way, for the mic, so I know the P's are popping. Let me just adjust the moon, because I feel like maybe I'm talking without looking. No, still cloudy. Right, so I'm going to finish explaining this process. So I hum through, and I go back, and I type out all the hums as words, and they end up in some of these songs, is the short version. So to answer this question, which is who is formidable opponent? Formidable opponent is like one's own internal struggle between like what to believe or like why you want to believe something. That was the original conceit. And then, of course, when I'm singing it, I envision people like, pop sci entertainers, those of whom I will not mention, soil the mood. But, the people that everybody kind of preach to us, those are the formidable opponents. People who bully other people or mean to other people just because of their own ego, those are formidable opponents. It's I kind of write in a general sense while trying to use very granular and specific terms, which is, I think, what makes songwriting interesting and why you want to listen to a song, is that you get different meanings out of it. That was the one cough of the night. But so formidable opponent has a visual for me, but it also has I don't know, some of these songs also manifest themselves. So I think it was that kind of cadence of the doom. I don't know, now I'm totally forgetting it, but here, let me play it back. and let's discuss this song for a second. Right, so I had this cool keyboard sound, and I probably programmed it to just do these 2 chords. And I was like, those 2 chords were too boring, so let me add this 3rd and 4th chord, and come back around. Add a sound in the background, that synth. Another synth. And here I'm just gauging mood, like, as to how long I'll wait to start singing. Exactly, rush the band. Right, so let me go back. So I know that there's this "We All Float" reference from It, but I wrote this in 2016, before they remade the movie It. And I don't even think I was referencing It, even though after I listened to it I realized, like, when you float, it sort of might have been from when I watched It as a kid. So that's maybe where that comes from. But really what it was is actually more about, like, how I dealing with weather as an astronomer. And then float, face of stormy weather. Storm's coming, baby. Yeah, like, everyone who knows you knows you knows you best. That's probably something I hummed, and then I rewrote because it just sounded like a cool cadence. Yeah, so this part. And that was kind of an elevated point, like, knows you best. You're kind of leaving suspended, then you do the drop, float. And that's why I changed the cadence to, like, to add that whole formidable opponent in the background. And I think I came up with that because I do, like, a vocal line, and then I'll try and do little punctuated stabs of vocals on top of vocal hook areas. Or it's like a secondary take that I've overlapped. So I think I was probably experimenting. Call response. Yeah. So that's a little analysis on how I think about writing. So a lot of the songs from earlier albums, at least the ones that are on Spotify, have a lot of this type of stuff going on, but I figured I also have this mentality about writing where, like, some songs are sometimes finished. And this whole crap in the industry of, like, having to overproduce songs because they have to sound a certain way or they have to be at a particular volume. Who cares? Like, songs are songs and they should be released. So let's see. Moon's looking all right. I feel like I have to adjust focus. I kind of want to go back. There was this idea that I wanted to do, but it's just a ton of work, is to go mine some old streams. And there are, I think, like 500 or more streams, and at least 20 of them are good. So there are tons of, like, chat room songs and tons of just off-the-cuff ideas and like emotional breakdowns on my part. Things that would sound really good, like in a compilation. But that's, I don't know if I'm ever really going to get to that, but it is a dream. I tried, and over like, I think I have archived a lot of the shows. So be able to do a backup channel at some point, but I don't know, just gotta flow with it. Yeah, we got the moon back, and I feel like we can hit up Jupiter and Saturn again. Man, green juice, carrot juice, and chocolate wafers. And now some tunes. You know, it definitely goes deeper than that. Like this one I'm about to play, called The Anecdote, is, you know, a lot of my songs have this empowerment thing going on where I think like we're, as a human race, are really strong, and we don't get to tell ourselves that a lot. And so I didn't want to be preachy about it and be like, you should feel good about yourself. But there are definitely lines in my songs where I'm like, we kick ass and we can do all this cool shit. And so, yeah, there's an undercurrent of that in at least Captain of the Stars, really.
You're my friend, yeah, that's a code of ours. It's the end, so let's just play the odds. You're my friend, yeah, that's a code of ours. So read your mind, read your mind. All those little boxes got you. Read your mind, read your mind. All those little boxes.
Alright, was just moving around. Switched up to the 3X Barlow that I happen to have laying around. Got a nice zoomed in shot. Not as good as the 11, but pretty good. The skies opened up, and I was trying for Jupiter for a second, but no dice there. It was a little bit too low. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Ellie. Tracking is definitely a bit wobbly. Play some catch. We'll see if Mary shows up. Alright, I think I'm getting a bit tired here, y'all. This is last few minutes of the space adventure. Kronos is definitely looking amazing. So lucky to see this. also, I forgot to shout out all the cool peeps doing Electric Universe stuff. So see the pattern, Electric Universe Eyes, Greg J. Check out Billy Elverton's old channel, Too Tough 2, Tuff. Suspicious Observers, talking about the Electric Sun, Sky Scholar, Stephen Crothers and Pierre Marie Robitaille, Thunderbolts Project. Who else we got? The Electric View. I'm sure channels are starting as I speak about them. Remember, folks, you get to ask. Nothing is too crazy in this electric universe of ours. Alright, time to sign off. This gorgeous shot of Saturn. Definitely wobbly, but I love it. Thanks for hanging out so long with me, everybody. Really appreciate it. All the kind words. And all the respect in this chat room that's so consistent. It's really a pleasure. Maybe I'll catch y'all tomorrow. If not, have an excellent week. I will definitely catch you for the full moon. And yeah, be well, be smart, be wise, and be kind. Captain signing out. Peace. Damn. Unintentional fake out, but good call to shout out Ken Wheeler, Theoria Apophysis, the angry photographer, for teaching what he knows, putting it out there. But yeah, check out this 3x shot of Aristarchus, looking amazing. So stay on a few more minutes. Let's. I'm gonna limit it 2:30. I'm gonna call it. So 9 more minutes. Quick fake out. Not on purpose, but with a view like this, I'm not gonna call it so abruptly. Tired as I may be, I still got a couple more drags on this cigarette. So I shall share it with y'all and enjoy this view of this incredible feature, Aristarchus. You see this shaking? I can't tell if it's just like the AC or if the moon is actually vibrating like crazy right now, or it's just my eyes, but I think it's just like the AC is going crazy right now. Zoom in. Like this is one of those particular views of Schroeder's Valley, Valles Scrotari, that you don't get to see very often. Look at this crazy shot. Yeah, this is a rare occasion. I shall stick around. Ooh, even Captain of the Stars is trying to play me off. Hold it, Captain. Inshallah. Right on, so where's my chat room at? Here we go. Yeah, amazing, kick-ass close-up shot of Aristarchus crater. You can see the bright white spots due to some sort of phenomenon that is still up for grabs. Could be electrical, like electrostatic dust. Could be outgassing. Could be, which I assume means that there are features on the surface that release certain types of particles that interact with solar radiation and I guess the magnetosphere of the moon that would create what we see as shiny or reflective. It could be that, well, could be that it's reflecting because of its height. Could be because it's an alien power plant, but I doubt it. Anyway, to the left of that, you got Herodotus, which is like a flat-floored crater or region. And then that leads to this fascinating feature, which is what is referenced in a lot of the Thunderbolts Project videos when they talk about electric scarification on the moon. It's this very long, extended, sinuous rill that I'm trying to get focused for y'all. And you can only see it in this type of detail at particular phases. I know it's shaking like crazy. But anyway, I've been trying to show this, but this whole thing is one of the most important features of, I think, of lunar geology that isn't talked about enough. And I kind of wish that Thunderbolts Project would use real footage of Aristarchus when they do their moon videos. Maybe that'll happen one day. I still got that little bug on my screen walking up and down Aristarchus crater. It's really fascinating, and the reason it's so interesting is because, you know, what created this 300-kilometer long feature that snakes its way from Herodotus all the way back, or upwards in this view. And so the hypotheses are volcanic lava tube, and there are video references to that from Hawaii, but you realize that volcanic lava tubes would have collapsed ceilings over long periods of time, and then you look at features created by electrical scarification and they match this type of stuff. these types of features where you have electric arc going across the surface, looking for points of least resistance, and creating these types of almost like burned, sputtering discharge features on the surface. So that's a very, very quick nutshell of why it's important. Further, it's like, for me, the entire Aristarchus plateau diamond that we're looking at right here that encases these four features are just like, what an incredible set of geological features to study. Holy crap, man. I feel this camera is either glitching out or crazy. All right, that's a good shot to close out on. I don't know, I was seeing some crazy glitching from maybe the shaking or whatever. It started to look like blocks. It's getting late, yo. All right, so quick recap. Aristarchus, super important, or at least that looks like an extremely important feature to me. Great evidence of electric scarification. Encourage people that you see and other YouTube channels to use real footage whenever possible. And also, particularly for like some of these features like Aristarchus, you don't ever see, or you don't see features like Schroeder's Valley, this kind of sinuous rill that I'm talking about. You only see it really well at certain phases. That's why it's not really, I think, just as common as it could be. All right. Quick check-in on the other ones. Kepler, Copernicus, closing shots of our moon. I like that part of the Suspicious Observer stuff. He's like, closing shots of our sun. So, closing shots of our moon. Sorry, Ben, I'm stealing that. Something is glitching out. I wonder if it's just my computer. Maybe it's gone like 3.5 hours on stream. Yeah, thanks for sticking with me, y'all. Alright, gonna close it out to this. Cough, cough, cactus to all my space peeps. Take it out on Selfish Supernova. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks again. Peace.